Hey everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. Before we get started, be sure to check out my Facebook group listed down below. It's a really fun place. I absolutely love being able to hang out with you guys, answer your questions, and see all the awesome crafts that you are making. Be sure to join. It's a great place to have a good time and it's all about crafting. Now, today's video is a really fun one and I think a great idea for like a last minute Valentine. If you either forgot about it or you just need something quick and simple, this is it, and it's pretty inexpensive as well. You're going to need some cardstock, and you can do this one of two ways. So you can either use your printer or you can use pens with your Cricut to do this. So there's a couple ways and I'm going to show you both. But what we're going to do today is make these really fun Play-Doh little holder Valentines. Really fun, really easy, and like I said, pretty inexpensive. I'm going to link two places where you can get Play-Doh down below in these little like 1 ounce jars, and then all you're going to need is a little bit of cardstock. You can make these so personal in any way that you want to, but the two ways I'm going to show you are super simple and you'll be able to knock them out pretty quickly. These come in big packs of Play-Doh, so this one is like a 15 pack that I spent $6 on, but there's also some on Amazon that I will link below as well. I'll link all the products that I'm using for you guys, so it's super easy to find everything. So let's get started. I can't wait to show you the two different ways that you can make fun Play-Doh Valentines.
Whatever we would do it just for fun.
I'm going to show you two different ways that you can do this design using Cricut Design Space. So you can do this with your pens, or you could also do this with print and cut. It's really up to you and kind of how you want to do it. But the first thing that we're going to do is open up a shape, and we're going to just start with our circle. Now, I pre-measured my Play-Doh little jars, and I did do a couple of test circle cuts to see what fit best. And for mine, which are just little 1 ounce ones, 1.75 inch circle was perfect. It let it sit inside the cardstock without falling completely through, but made it easy enough that you could set it in there and get it out. When you do this, if you're giving this as like a gift, I would totally put a little piece of tape along the back, and I'll show you that when we assemble. But I like to start with my circle, and I just hate this gray color, so I just always change it. And since we're doing Play-Doh, let's just make the circle yellow. Now, the next thing is your shape for your card. Now, you have a couple of options if you are doing this without Cricut Design Space access, and that right here is all of these little shapes at the top. But you can also, if you have Design Space access, you have a ton of other like super fun shapes that you can use. There's different tag shapes. There's fun circle shapes. So I'm going to actually do this really cute kind of scallopy circle because I think it would be super fun. Now, what we need to do is expand this shape so that it's decent size so that our circle for our Play-Doh can fit in the middle. What I'm going to do first is set this to the back. So I'm just going to right click on it and click move to back. That way I can kind of get an idea of the spacing that I have and how big I want to make my card. We can definitely resize this after we put the text, but again, I'm going to go ahead and change the color just so it's easier to see. So I think you can put any text you really want, but let's do, I think you are, let's do a dough rubble. I just think that's funny, kind of goes with the whole Play-Doh thing. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter, it's up to you. Now I am going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller, and I do want to curve my text. But let's go ahead and change our font first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a system font, and I'm going to turn off this only kerned fonts section, just because I think sometimes the kerned fonts kind of mess with it a little bit. And like I said, we're going to do this two ways. So I'm actually just going to do the card the exact same for both, but that way you can kind of see the difference. So the first thing we're going to do is just find a font that we like. I actually like to use, when I'm doing this for kids, I try to use a font that's easier for them to read. So I don't like to do a lot of script fonts and things like that, but I like to use a cute font. And I like this one. This is called Closer. I will link it down below. It is one of my favorites and it's super duper cute. So like I said, I want to curve my font. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of curve it a little bit. And from here, we're just going to play with its sizing, and we may need to curve it a little bit more. We may need to kind of play with the sizing and things like that. As you kind of curve, you can see kind of how it changes, and you can size it like this way with the little arrow. Do whatever you want to do. It's up to you. Like I said, this is your design. You do it how you want to do it. So I think that looks pretty good. I think it's fine. Like, it's not anything too crazy. Now, I am going to print this color in black, the font, just because I think it will look better. The circle is going to be white, so you can always change that to white if you want to get a better idea of how your design is going to look. And then this will be the circle for the dough can. The next thing that we're going to do is just add the to and from. So I'll use the same font just so that it all matches and it looks pretty cute. Now, obviously, these are a little bit kind of big, so we want to size those down as well. And you'll want to make sure that you leave enough room for your child or yourself to write the name of who it's going to. And depending on how old your kid is, you may need to leave a little bit more space. I'm going to go ahead and change my line spacing just a little bit so that we have a little more room between the to and the from. I find this easier than just ungrouping. I think that looks like a decent size. So again, I just want to make sure I change this to black because I'm going to print it in black. You can, again, really mess with the colors. Do whatever you want. Let's say we want to make it red. Let's just do it in red. What the heck? So here is our design so far. Now, again, you can really add whatever you want. And keep in mind that this little circle here is going to be your Play-Doh. So it's not actually going to be yellow. It's going to be whatever color lid for your Play-Doh. So once I'm happy with this, what I want to do is I'm going to select the yellow circle and the scalloped circle just over here in the layers panel. The first thing that I want to do is I want to make sure I use the align option. This option is going to give you a bunch of different ways you can align, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that our dough is centered in the middle, and then we want to make sure that our words are going to be centered as well. I like to center that first, and then I like to slice it out. Because we want it to cut that out, you're going to want to slice it. If you're uncomfortable with slicing it, which is a really easy thing to do, you can also simply just attach, because that's actually going to do the same thing. It will cut the circle out. So we'll use attach for this one, just so you can get an idea of what that looks like. This is super easy to do, really simple, but you'll see now you have a cut line here, and that means it's going to cut out your design. Now, it'll look like your words disappeared, but don't worry, they didn't. They're right here. So you have a couple options to make those reappear back on top. You can right click and click send to back, or over here in your layers panel, you can just simply drag this under the words again. Now, again, you can really add anything you want to this. You can size it, you can change it however you want. But once you've attached, you don't want to resize the entire card, because you're going to end up with kind of a situation where your circle in the center is going to be too small. So if you want to resize it, you'll need to detach it and change the sizing. So if you need to change your sizing, what you're going to do is click detach, and that's sometimes why attach is a little bit better of an option. Now you'll see that we have the separate pieces. So if I want to make my scalloped circle smaller, I can absolutely do that now, but I do need to keep in mind that you need to make sure you detach. So I made it a little bit smaller just for fun, and let's go ahead and align it again and center, and then let's attach it one more time. Again, it'll look like your words disappeared. Don't worry, they're just under. So I have to say, I'm not loving that this is curved, but we're going to just go with it, just because this is just to show you kind of how to make this. So now what I want to do is I actually am going to move everything here just to make sure it's all where I want it. I'm going to make this to from just a little smaller. And what I want to do now is I'm going to take the I think you're adorable and the attached circle part here, and I want to align them. And instead of doing this center here, I actually want to center them horizontally. That way I make sure my words are right where I need them to be. That looks really good. I think it looks perfect. So the first thing that I want to do is, because I'm going to show you how to do this two different ways. Let's go ahead and select our entire design, and I'm going to duplicate it. Now, it does take a second to duplicate sometimes, so don't worry if it doesn't do it right away. I'm going to slide one out of the way. So let's work with this one over here. This one, I want to do it as a print then cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my words. I'm going to select this. Up here in operations, I'm going to change this to print then cut standard. I'm going to do the same for to and from, change it to print then cut standard. Now you'll see that our words look way skinnier, a little easier to read. Now I will say that when doing print then cut, every once in a while, design space is just a little bit nutty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and detach my circle and my scalloped circle, because sometimes I think it just likes to lose its mind. It doesn't always understand what I'm trying to tell it to do, and typically you're going to need to slice. So what I'm going to do is select my circle and my scallop circle, and I'm going to go ahead and slice the one for our print and cut. Sometimes if you don't slice it, it tends to get confused and not understand what it's supposed to do. So what you want to do is just delete the circles in between your scalloped circle, and then you'll see, and I'll change the background so it's easier for you guys to see. I'll just change the background to yellow. Now you'll see that you have this circle sliced out. Go ahead and right click on your scalloped circle and send it to the back. Then you want to select all of your parts, and you want to use the word flatten down here in the bottom right. That is going to make sure that when you print it, it's going to only cut out the outside scallop part and then the center circle. It's really important that you use flatten. If you don't, it's not going to cut out correctly. It's going to actually try to cut out all of your words, and you don't want that. Now this one, we are going to do it with writing. So what I want to do is I'm going to select my font, and I'm going to go ahead and change my operation up here at the top, and I'm going to change it to pen. Now you'll see that it is all kind of a bubble letter, and that's okay because we're not going to use a writing font for this because sometimes those can be a little hard to read for kids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change both of these to a pen. Now we want them to write in two different colors, and that's easy enough to do. Once you have one of your fonts selected, so one of your like text boxes, up here at the top right next to where it says pen, there's this little box, and you can just change the color of the pen. It doesn't matter what color you choose, it only matters what color pen you place in there. And the last step is to select your entire design, and you want to attach everything together. If you don't, it's going to move your writing off of your scalloped circle, and it's just going to be a big old mess. All right, so now that we have this all set up, what we have to do now is just click Make It. Now what you'll see is that we have two different designs. So you have this one, which is your print and cut, and I know that it looks like your scalloped circle is gone. It's not. It's just kind of how Cricut Design Space shows it on the print screen, because Cricut Design Space, really nothing, prints white. White is going to be whatever color you make your cardstock. So for this one, if you're using the Maker, you can use other colored cardstock. If you're using the Explorer, it really does work best with white. I'm going to use white just so that you guys can see this really well. And then you'll see our second mat is the one that has our pen. Now I'm going to use two different sheets of cardstock just so this is a lot easier. But again, you can really do this either way. So the first thing that we'll need to do is send this to our printer. So from this screen, just simply click Continue, and it's going to bring up your Send to Printer screen. What I need to do is click Send to Printer, and it's going to bring up my design. So I always just verify that my design is the right way. Sometimes Cricut Design Space loses its mind and it moves things, and it can be kind of a pain, but it's totally fine. Now for this, you don't really need to leave the bleed on. It's totally fine to leave it off. I'm going to leave it on just because it doesn't matter. But if you had a colored like image, you'll want to put it on. Then we're going to use our system dialog. This is going to bring up our printer settings so that we're able to change some of our settings and make sure that our correct printer is selected. So I'm using my ET2720, which is just an Epson inkjet printer. I'm going to choose preferences. Now, if for some reason you don't have all these preferences, make sure that you've installed the print drivers correctly when you install your printer. If you're having issues and you don't have all of this, just go to the website of the printer that you have, so their manufacturer's website, and you'll be able to find drivers for your printer, download and install those, and it should fix the problem. So what I'm seeing here is some options. So I'm just going to leave this as plain white, bright white paper. Totally works fine, not an issue. But I do want to go ahead and change my quality here. I'm going to change this to high. And one more setting that I need to change, especially on this printer, and it's not always true for everyone's printer, but for mine, high-speed printing really makes it very like liney and doesn't look very nice. So I turn that off. Then all you have to do is click print. Now I do need to go put the cardstock in my printer, but we're going to go ahead and get that printed out, and then I'll show you the next steps. Once you've printed out your design, it's going to ask you to set the material that you want it to cut on. This is usually like a good cut between light cardstock and medium, so I tend to go with medium. I find it just works a little bit better, but you will want to just test your machine to see which cut setting works best for you. So I'm going to go with the medium cardstock setting. So this is our printed out version. You can see it's got the little registration box around it. So what you're going to do is place this on to your mat. I am using a blue mat, and you want to make sure that you get it as straight as you can along the top and the sides. So I always just like to take my time and then just kind of put it down. Now that is sort of straight. That looks pretty straight. It's not perfect, but it'll do. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pull my machine in a little bit so that you guys can see this better. So what you'll do is you're going to load your mat just like you would any other time. Now I will say I may need to turn off my overhead light for this because sometimes my Cricut Design Space doesn't always love that light. Because what happens is it's going to turn on a little light in your carrier here, this little cradle, and it's going to read these registration lines, and that's how it's going to know where to cut. So we're going to go ahead and hit the go button. It's going to scan the lines, and then it will cut out our scalloped circle. And simple as that, it's done. So I'll go ahead and turn the overhead light and the side light on again for you so that you guys can see. I'm going to slide this out of the way, and I'm pretty sure my pen just rolled under there. But what you're going to do, go ahead and unload. And the important thing is to flip your mat over and remove your project by kind of rolling your mat. That way you don't bend your cardstock. So you can see I'm just kind of rolling my mat away from the cardstock. So there is our little design. Now what we need to do is move on to do our second one, which we're going to use the pens. So let me go ahead and get these off. Now for this one I'm using the same weight cardstock, but I have a 12 by 12 sheet of it. I just go ahead and get this onto my mat. Now I do need to go select my material again because Cricut Design Space is being a little bit weird right now with that. So I'm going to go ahead and load this, and then I'll select my material. I'll show you guys how to put the pen in as well. The first pen that it's asking for is our black pen, so I'm going to use Cricut pens for this, but you could use others. I have videos that are going to show you different pens that you can use soon. So what you do is open clamp A, you're going to put your pen in, and you want to put your finger under your cradle, and the other finger on top of the pen, and push till it clicks. Go ahead and make sure you close clamp A, and just hit the Cricut button. It'll start writing with your pen, and then it's going to ask us to change our pen, and I'm going to use just a red pen. We'll do the same thing, and then it'll cut out. Now what it wants us to do is change out our pen, so go ahead and grab your black pen out. Make sure you put the cap back on, and then I'm going to put my red pen in. Now again, I always put my cap on the end just so I don't lose it. Same thing, drop your pen in, press down. Close your clamp, and you're good to go. Again, once this one's done, go ahead, unload your pen. This is always my first step. That way the pen doesn't accidentally get forgotten and dried out. Close your clamp, and you can unload. We're going to do the same thing we did with the other one and flip it over to remove it from our mat and set that off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and grab our Play-Doh, and we can go ahead and show you what this looks like all finished. Okay, now to put these together, all you simply need to do is grab your little card and drop your Play-Doh in. You're good to go. Again, you could add some tape to the back if you needed to transport these, but really simple, and they sit right in there. But again, I would definitely add some kind of tape just to hold them, and I would just put a little bit of tape like across the back, and it'll hold. You could also use a little bit of glue, but I would really just recommend tape. It'll work a lot better, and it will hold really well. But there, all you do, really, really simple, really easy. This is a quick, like, last minute thing. You can get this big pack of Play-Doh. So I got this from Target. This was 15 cans. It was $6. But I will link the Target brand, or the Target place where I got them, and then I will link Amazon as well. Amazon's a little more expensive, but if you don't have a Target, it's a good option. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know down in those comments. I'm always happy to answer those for you. I hope you learned a little bit of something about print and cut and using your pens with your Cricut to make a really quick and easy Valentine that you can give out as a gift for your kids' class, because I know a lot of places don't let you do candy anymore. So Play-Doh is always a good option, and I mean, let's be honest, Who doesn't love the smell of Play-Doh? My entire craft room smells like it right now. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Happy Valentine's Day. And as always, happy crafting.